Hello, welcome to Garden Chronicles. My name is James David. I would like to make a short, quick video about my Episcia plant collection here. These are actually blooming now, and I find this is one of the rare occasions because due to my garden condition where it is very shaded, however, because of this timing is just right and they are actually in blooms. Can you see it? It's quite a majestic view on this. The flowers are quite brilliant, and I find that this particular hybrid is known as Amazon Lady and has this velvety sheen, so somehow very much like a satin kind of an effect where there is a corrugation followed by a kind of colors that I find is more on a 3D effect. When I feel the leaf, it's very much on a furry kind of a set, and I find that any dark colors Episcias, it is very much to do with the element where they receive more light in dark shaded areas. So these do not do so well in hot, bright sunlight. Rather, it will do in this kind of garden condition. What I also notice is that the ones that have cascaded, what you call these runners, and more like a pub kind of thing. Normally, Episcias does this. And you can see over here, this particular one. I forgot Stolon, if I'm not wrong. These are the things that when they touch a medium, they will tend to take root and start a new colony. I should do that sometime now, but when I actually got this particular plant, you can all see over here, it was one small tiny pot, but somehow this plant has actually crawled out of this pot. Here is where I keep all my Episcias because they need to have a filtered bright shaded area, and I find that this is the best location that my Episcias is actually able to grow very well. I have managed to collect some of varieties and hybrids, and I find of course there's so many. I've even missed out their names because of the hybridization, but somehow I find that my interest is very much got to do with collecting them for their foliage colors and texture rather than their flowers. However, when they do flower, they are very beautiful. So these are some of what I have managed to collect over the years. As I mentioned very much earlier in my other videos, I actually lost quite a big deal of a collection in my garden, and this is actually a small mini collection because these are the ones that actually survived in my garden. So let's see what else do I have in my collection. So this is something of a tricolor of a red version, you can see over here. Again, these are actually very cheap. I think I bought one pot roughly about 10 ringgit, so it's affordable now. So I find that there's a two version of it. This is more the pink notes, you can see over here, and this is the darker notes. I believe this is Malayan Gem. The Malayan Gem is more darker. Of course, there are so many names. I had to figure out and come back to it. This is another one. Okay, the leaves are dropped. Sorry about that. Okay, this is another one. You see, look at it. It's quite nice. As I mentioned, Episcias are very much humidity loving plants, so they need to have good bright shaded area and regulated condition. They don't do well so much on a dry condition, but somehow some of them have acclimatized in a hot and dry condition. In my experience, I find that Episcias are very much temporary plants, they can be sensitive, especially if there's a rot takes place, the whole colony dies from that particular plant. So it's always important to have spares. Also, I think this is blue Nile. You see some burns there. I believe it's because of lack of humidity. So coming back to the element of their care and need, what I do here is that I place them in coconut chips followed by sphagnum moss, and actually this sphagnum moss is a bit wet and nice. So it's more on the humidity factor that I'm actually looking at. The other factor here is that I'm actually growing them together with begonias in this place, and I find that they're doing fine. So these are the things that I want to mention about Episcia for this particular season, when I find that growing them more on a trial and basis, and I find that they do well if the right condition, especially where they love to thrive and grow. So if similar like begonias, if the placement of the plant is not ideal for them in the right condition, they may tend to wither away. So this is more on the trial and error kind of thing. But basically here is the facts are very simple. If you have a begonia in your garden, you can see this is begonia and Episcias together. So they are more on a compact plant kind of thing. Of course, they don't really bloom in shaded areas. So this, I have tried growing Episcia in different parts of my garden. It's not really happening. So just to show you, this is the same pink plant. It's been like this for a few months. I think from June, if I'm not wrong, the first week of June. So this is when I first purchased a small plant, and I cut a small Stolon and I left it here. And it's like that. One of the most important things is, as long as they are not dead, it's the most important thing. I'm just waiting for it to create a colony, but as long as it's alive, it's a big deal for me. So care and maintenance, because of the condition is just right. You see over here, just light bright sunlight, so not direct hot sun. Of course, some cultivars do, the hardy types, which the ones with some of the green colors, and the ones that is very much of the brown notes. Those are the first common ones. Let me see if I can find it, like these types. These are the common ones. They do very well in this kind of garden condition. Hardy in a sense that they can take sun and rain, but the sensitive ones are these types. They do not do so well in the open environment. So you will roughly know based on the furry texture on the leaves. If they are very rough, if they are very brittle and sensitive, then you know that these are not the types that to be exposed to direct hot sun and rain. Another factor here is more on the trial and error sets. This is very much in the cocoa peat. It was actually dying, this particular plant, and I have reset it, and it sort of like perked up, then picked up a new growth. So these are the things that you have to watch out for, because do keep an eye on Episcias in a way that they are visible to you. If you miss it, you may be too late to save the plant. So, and the other important thing is always, if you can, try to have spare, especially like this particular Stolon. They are actually ready for a new colony, a new plant. So plant this so that, because eventually this mother plant will die over time. I think about 6 months time, they will sort of like die at the top, and then the new generation will take over here. But in some cases, if there's a rot take place, the rot will infect all these, means gone. Of course, the element here is the greener one seems to be more hardy in compared to the silver notes and the pink ones. I find that the pink ones are slow growing. This is the pink one that I've actually have. You see they are not so fast in their growth. I think it's been like this ever since I purchased them, and like they grew. I mean, maybe chances are there may be one leaf who dies and the new leaf will come over, but that's about it. So these are the things about hybrids with their colors. Sometimes they're beautiful, but they are slow. This is a common one, but again, this is in a dying stage. It's not really growing properly. So this is the trial and errors that I actually face when it comes to Episcias. Again, how do you say? When it's one singular tall effect like this, it means that it's actually lacking sunlight. So these are the things that you have to watch out for, because by not paying attention to it, you may find that you might start to rot over here and it's too late to save the plant. So this is another silver note kind of Episcia. Forgive me, I'm just done with identifying their names because I find there's so many varieties and variations to it. So it doesn't really matter in my garden as long as the plant is alive. I'm happy with it. So this particular one is actually growing with sand and coconut chips, and it's doing fine. Similarly, like when this plant was about to die, I trimmed off the stolon and I poked it here, and I can also use this chopstick as a foundation for it, more of a support. And I've noticed a new stolon is appearing. So these are the things that I pay attention to, lack which, if this is not happening, the plant will be start to wither and drop off its leaves. So I know that if you start to drop off its leaves, I know it's already rotting. This is a new set of plants that I have actually recently potted. This is how I do it, in a small pot, just tight and neat, so that it does have this sort of like a tuck-in kind of effect when it's growing. Because I find that when they are placed in a very big pot, especially when you say over-potted, they don't tend to do well. They can rot easily. So this is the sort of like ideal, but if you can get a smaller pot in one singular plant, it will be great. But I believe that this is more on green type, so they are a little bit more hardy in comparison to the colored version. So I have come to the end of my video concerning Episcias. If you have any questions, do put them in the comment below, and I'll try my best as my ability to answer them according to my experience. If you can, please click like and subscribe my channel. It will really help me on my work in my garden here. Hope you enjoyed my video. See you in my next video. Take care. Enjoy yourself. Bye.